Well, it is raining. But I had a notification I had a FedEx box delivered out by the gate. So I ran out to the car. Since the 737 is under the tarp. And I was confused when I first opened this up because there's a lot of boxes. But they're empty boxes. Being used for packing material. But I had come from an auto parts store. But what it is the muffler that will go on a Volkswagen. Okay, this is, like I say, it's for particular models and particular years. I think it's 59 to 63. And they differ, the machine I have had a bug muffler on it, which is this piece of gear. Now there's a difference in them. The bug has got this whole arrangement here because they don't use that heater box. And they also have two exhaust pipes, though one of them is missing on this. See, the bus used one. So when I'm fixing this, I wanted to go back to the original. And I found one. Actually, the guy has another one. And I might be tempted to buy the second one, just because I do that sort of thing. Okay, it goes on just like that. Now I have to buy, there's like a tailpipe arrangement. But the cool part, this is definitely, like you look at it, you maybe won't be able to see, it's pretty dark in here. There's a lot of little rust specks here and there on it. Just surface rust. Because this is the epitome of a new old stock. This thing is probably 50 years old. And it's been sitting on the shelf all that time. But it is a German one. It says right on there, made in West Germany. And there's a little history behind that sort of thing, but made in Western Germany. But now what I will do with it, I will glass bead it to get rid of that surface stuff and the old paint. And then I'll paint it with, I've got some 2000 degree high temperature paint. It looks like this, it's that darker, but it's made for headers and stuff. This is not unusual. This is something that, like say if I were to buy a brand new muffler, which you can, though it's hard to find one like this, that's this cool. But a new muffler made for these would come painted, but also with the understanding that you should remove that paint and put high temperature paint on it. The paint that comes on them is not high temperature paint, even on brand new ones, unless it's aluminized or ceramic coated, which most of them aren't. The paint that's on there is just for storage, just for shelf life. But now I can figure out my, your number 2 and number 4 cylinders go here. These are for the number 1 and number 3 cylinders, and I have to figure out my pipe length to get up through the heating. But now I can. But first, I got to get this in the glass beater, and I can see, I was afraid it might be too big, but no, I can fit this in the glass beater, and I can blow all that off. But like I say, there's kind of a story with Volkswagen. You know, after World War II, and Germany was divided up into sectors, the Volkswagen plant that had been making military vehicles all through the war ended up in the British sector. Though the Russians really would have liked to have it. You know, they kind of liked what the Germans had done with this vehicle design. So they finally, the British, well, the one guy in particular decided he'd go and look at the Volkswagen plant and see if they could get this going again, if there was any hope for it. And he found that though the building was, you know, the structure was bombed out, all the machinery was fairly intact. So what they did, you know, he tried his hardest to get, you know, somebody interested in it, like Ford or something, you know, somebody who would come in and help to get this industry going. Because the whole idea was after the war to try to get the industries built up and going again, to give people jobs, you know. But Ford wasn't interested. He didn't think much of the car. So we were building big stuff back then. And Ford was a little miffed because he had been building trucks for the German army, and we had bombed some of his plants. So he wanted reparations for the damage the Allies had done to his German plants. You know, kind of ridiculous, but that was his attitude. So this British guy finally dug around. He got people to start building cars on a limited basis. They were building, you know, because after all this bombing, there wasn't much left, but there was, like I say, the machinery, and there was a prototype for the Volkswagen Beetle, and all the machinery to build them, and some parts and stuff ahead. Because that was going to be the people's car, you know, the big plan, though they got sidetracked with the military stuff. So he decided he would try to get production started on these Volkswagen Beetles. And they searched around and finally got a German guy who he didn't care for the car, but he could run the plant. So they started making them. And at first all they were doing was making them for use by the British military in the British sector. To run around and do their odds and ends, but it got the plant going again on a limited basis, and they kept building it from there and building it from there, and they gave people jobs, and they started civilian production, and it took off from there to be, you know, like a worldwide phenomenon. And it's funny because then Ford later, when it took off, Ford really kind of wanted in on it then. They said, we don't need you now, you know. That's cool. Yeah, I really should buy the other one. You know, I intend on owning this thing for quite some time. I was thinking about this the other day. I don't buy new stuff, new vehicles. I have never bought a new vehicle, except, I guess, my motorcycles back when they were, but at that time, you know, $1,500 you could buy a new motorcycle. Well, kind of just roughly totaling up what I'm putting into this Volkswagen bus, this will be the most expensive vehicle that I own. So I figured I gotta run this for a while. So maybe it wouldn't be bad to have another new old stock muffler sitting on the shelf. Because like I say, it's a limited year production of these. But that's cool. I mean, it's even better than, like in the pictures, it even looked rustier. But this is just very light surface rust. This is nothing. It's just from storage. It's brand new. Yeah, that's cool. But it's got to be at least 50 years old. Yeah, it's the kind of thing. It's great to run across. And it'll purr. Now, you know, normally, like a Volkswagen Beetle, you know, they've got those odd little twin exhaust stubs that come out with baffles in them. And when you accelerate, they chirp. Bush won't do this. This will purr. Yeah, it's great. Very tickled with that. That came out of the free state of Texas. So, well, maybe I have to throw a little more money at them to have a spare. Great to find that kind of thing.